Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Trained Under Killer Bee Guidance and Fell in Love with Yugito Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. There are 9-tailed beast hosts in the 5 elemental nations. Myself and your brother being 2 of them. A female voice began speaking. And as most know, we are called Jinchuriki, the power of human sacrifice. Ever since I was handed the missions list, I've been traveling through the nations and in the 5 main villages to complete my assignments. As I was doing my missions, I gained word from villagers about demons in their village. You might guess that these demons are the Jinchuriki, and you are correct. Each of the main villages have at least one tailed beast container, with the hidden waterfall village being the only minor village with a container. On a side note, I have gotten to meet at least 2 of the Jinchuriki, however, I am only familiar with 5 of them. I didn't get information on the other 2. Most likely because he or she wasn't in the village. Continue. A tough voice spoke. I've gained as much information as I could about the containers. The female voice continued. I have their information at the top of my head. The first Jinchuriki is one known as Gaara from the Hidden Sand Village, also known as the son of the current Cage. I don't know which tailed beast he holds, but I do know that he is only 12 years old, and he is apparently untouchable. He has succeeded every mission he has been, all without taking any sort of damage, not a scratch, not a bruise. All thanks to his ability to manipulate sand, and his 2 older siblings who give him help. Next is the current Mizukage, Yugura. I'm certain that you know of his Jinchuriki status, yes? The female voice asked. I am well aware. The second voice answered. A third voice began to speak. The village has been under civil war, as you probably already know. The voice said in a rapping way. The female voice continued speaking. I didn't go to their village since it wasn't assigned on the list I was given, plus I didn't want to go in there knowing what was going on, but all I know is that he is the container of the 3 tails, and has turned his village into a war zone due to his tyranny. But the less said about him, the better. Up next is Han from the Stone Village, and the container of the 5 tails. He's one of the Jinchuriki I met personally, and the first one I learned about as well. How did you meet him? The second voice asked. During my trip to the Stone Village. I actually bumped into him, and we had a long talk. He's 33 years old, and has a personal hatred for humanity. However, he seemed rather intrigued when he met a Jinchuriki such as myself, and welcomed me to come visit him whenever I please. He is also the one that got me to think about the rest of the Jinchuriki in the nations. I see. The second voice said. The female voice continued. Then there's Fu, the Jinchuriki of the waterfall village. The village leader brought her up in one of our discussions, but didn't mention much of her. Only that she's 13 years old, and has hatred for humanity that is bigger than Han's. She reminds me a bit of you, Yugito. The third voice said in a normal form. The now identified Yugito continued. I can see why. Not only am I a female container like her, but I did have my fair share of hating people. I'm glad that's changed. But back on topic, lastly is Naruto Uzumaki, of the Hidden Leaf Village. He's the second Jinchuriki I met. I decided to take a break in the Leaf Village, and spoke to the current Hokage about my stay. That's where I met Naruto. However, he doesn't know about his Jinchuriki status, and the Hokage forbid me from mentioning it to the young one. I treated Naruto for some ramen, and I got to know him better there. He's a very loud 12-year-old, but a funny one too. And when I met him, he was only a month away from his academy graduation. Other than that, that's all the information I have of the Jinchuriki I'm familiar with. Any thoughts, Lord I? I stood silent for a few seconds, then speaks. How many of those Jinchuriki are aware of their status? Yugito spoke, all except for Naruto. I nods. And what exactly is your plan, Yugito? Yugito begins. Lord Raikage, With your permission, I wish to bring all of these Jinchuriki together. You are well aware of all the pain and suffering me and B went through when we were younger. I can't stand that these containers are still going through this. Some of them are still young, and haven't lived their life yet. I can bet that they grew up alone, and miserable. And yes, Han and Yugura are adults now and have experienced what they needed to, but Han is living his life in solitude, and Yugura most likely became a dictator just so that he could get back at his village for the way they treated him. Lord I wonders, why do you want to bring the Jinchuriki together? Because, Yugito replies, I want to show these containers that they're not alone, and that there's people out there that were neglected and abandoned for the exact same reason. I want to show them that they too can get the respect me and B worked so hard to gain. She bows her head. Lord Rakage, grant me one chance, and allow me to bring them all together. I won't disappoint you. She raises her head, and I speaks. What would be the benefit of bringing them together? And where would we keep them? B crosses his arms, and answers normally. It'll make our village stronger, bro. Think about it. Having 7 of us in our village. You know how much power the Jinchuriki hold. He then raps. And their villages probably don't want them in the village. Yugito then continues. And we can keep them on Turtle Island. A very secured place, and a perfect start. B then raps. I volunteer to help her find the rest of these Jinchuriki. I asks. Do you think you will be able to convince 4 of them to join us? Yugito responds. I know I can, Lord I. All I ask is for a chance. I won't let you down. Me and B will take a healthy amount of care and look out for them. B nods in agreement. I stays silent for a few more seconds, then speaks. Very well, Yugito. I will grant you a chance. But know that if you fail to bring all of them to Turtle Island, I won't give you another chance to go find those you couldn't bring. And if you do come across those 2 Jinchuriki whom you couldn't talk about today, then I'm open to bringing them here as well. Yugura is out of the question, so don't even bother with him. I will make this into a mission. An A-ranked mission. You are both to travel across the nations and to bring the Jinchuriki here. Make sure you get the approval of the village, as well. Yugito responds. Yes, Lord Rakage. I shouts. Mabui. His young female assistant then comes into the room, holding a clipboard. Yes, Lord Rakage. I says. Yugito and B will be leaving on a mission to find the rest of the Jinchuriki. Both of you have 1 month to find them. No slacking off, no distractions, no change of destinations, unless you gain information about the 2 missing Jinchuriki. Mabui, prepare their mission papers. I will get started ASAP, Lord Rakage. Mabui responds. What would you like to name the mission? I answers. Project Tailed Beasts. Mabui confirms. Very well. I'll have the papers ready. She then exits the room, in search for the mission papers. Yugito kindly bows once more, and says. Thank you for granting me this chance, Lord Rakage. It'll be exciting getting to meet those who shared what me and B lived through. She raises her head again. I says. Of course, Yugito. Now, when will you like to get started? Yugito answers. I'd like to get started in 2 weeks. There's still a few assignments I need to take care of. And I thought of bringing up this topic early so that we don't have to make plans at the last minute. I responds. That's a smart thing to do. B raps. I can teach them a thing or two about being a good shinobi like Lord Killer B. Oh yeah. Yugito and I only sweat drop as he raps those words, but Yugito smirks nonetheless. 2 weeks later, Yugito and B were standing front of the gate entrance to the Cloud Village carrying backpacks for their trip, and alongside them were I and Mabui. I begin speaking. This is going to be a long mission for both of you. His expression changes to a serious one. And I highly hope you don't come back empty-handed. You hear me? Yugito and B say respectively. We won't, Lord Rakage. You got it, bro. Mabui then speaks. As stated before, both of you have 1 month to recruit the tailed beast containers. Once you find them, report to Turtle Island, and send us a messenger bird, so that we can report there. We want to give them our greetings. I continues. If your month is up, and, if you aren't able to recruit any of the Jinchuriki, you are to report back to this village, and I'll mark this mission as a failure. Yugito swallows hard to this, and I looks at her, saying, you understand the consequences of this, right Yugito? You're not exactly one to fail a mission, or come back empty-handed. And if that happens, you're gonna have to put up with some serious makeup assignments if you make this a huge waste of my time. Yugito widens her eyes a bit, but responds, nervously. I won't, Lord Rakage. I'll make this worth your while. I says, I hope so. Now, what will your plans be for your journey? Yugito regains her composure, and speaks. We'll head west to the hidden waterfall village to recruit Fu. Then we'll head a bit further to the west and recruit Han. After that, we'll head south to the sand village and recruit Gaara. And, as for Naruto Uzumaki, I've started to get second thoughts about recruiting him. He doesn't know about his Jinchuriki status, and the Hokage forbid me from mentioning it to the young one. I stays quiet for a few seconds. He then speaks. If there's one thing I know about the third Hokage, is that he wants what's best for his village, and the people in it. I know for a fact that he'll give Naruto what is best for him, and let him live with the Jinchuriki. Even if knowing of his status will ruin things for him, I can guarantee that he will be happy living with you containers. Yugito says, I hope you're right, Lord Rakage. I turns to B, and says, B, you better not make Yugito or yourself look bad with your rapping while recruiting the Jinchuriki. It'll make you look like you're not taking your job seriously, and the village leaders will not be convinced of lending you their containers if you rap in front of them, so you better keep your rapping as minimum as possible. B, while annoyed of keeping his rapping to a minimal, responds. Alright, ma brother. I'll try not to rap. I says, I hope so. Now, both of you, go on. You have 4 countries to wander. Mabui smiles at Yugito and B, and says, good luck out there, you two. I'm pretty excited to meet these people. Yugito replies, thank you Mabui. We will see you in at least a month. I nods, and with that, Yugito and B leave the gates of the Cloud Village, and exit the territory. Yugito starts a conversation. Hey, B. B asks, what's up, ma girl? I never got to ask you this, but what made you want to help me find the Jinchuriki? B crosses his arms, and replies normally. I have the same interests as you, Yugi girl. I may not look it, but I also wanna show them that they can get the respect we worked hard to gain. Is that so? Well, I'm glad to see you care just as much as I do. B uncrosses his arms, and raps. Not as much as you, but you can see I do. Either way, we're on the same page. B continues rapping. You said we go into waterfall first. We better get there in a burst. I wouldn't worry about getting there quickly. We have enough time. Besides, there aren't a whole lot of trees to jump across, and we need to cross Lightning Desert too. Let's take it slow and steadily, so that we don't arrive tired to the waterfall, or the other villages. Whatever you say, Yugi sis. With that, they continue their journey to the village hidden in the waterfall. For the rest of the trip, Yugito and B decided to talk about old times. Their childhood, how they met, the time they spent together, and the mission that got them the Cloud Village's respect. Yugito and B were very good friends, and spent their childhood together. B was like the older brother that Yugito never had. He was always there for her, watching over her, taking care of her, and even inspired her to stand up strong, and prove herself to those who gave her a miserable childhood. Yugito and B had a sister-brother relationship, and were both very happy with it. B may not show it, and never admitted it, but he treasured his time with Yugito all those years ago, and it's something he would never let go of. Yugito was open about it, and always told B how happy she was to have met him. B never told her back, he was too prideful, but deep inside, he felt the same. He was glad he met his younger sister figure. They managed to cross Lightning Desert after a 5-hour walk, and only resting 2 times. After finally exiting Lightning Desert, they entered the smaller countries, and made stops in the smaller villages, mainly for food and drinks, but they were mostly traveling. They didn't spend much time in the villages. While Yugito did say to take it slowly, neither of them felt tired just yet, so they continued traveling until night fell. It took them 2 days, but they managed to arrive to the waterfall village. They were standing in front of the waterfall that was blocking the entrance to the village. As they approached the waterfall, 2 Jonin waterfall shinobi stopped them. Halt! One of the shinobi commanded. I need identification, and your reason for being here. Yugito handed her ID. Yugito ni. B handed his. Killer B in the house, homie. The second waterfall shinobi looked at B's ID with a questionable look on his face. Killer B. B answers. That's right, fool. Ya fool. Both shinobi stood quiet after that, but Yugito speaks. Let's get right on topic. We wish to speak to the leader of your village. Both of the shinobi hand Yugito and B their IDs back, and the first shinobi speaks, for what purpose? Yugito answers. To recruit an unwanted shinobi of yours. The second shinobi looks at the first. Could be talking about her. The first shinobi agrees. Well, nobody wants that thing in here anyways. Hearing the word thing angered Yugito on the inside. When she and B were children, most people called them a thing or a demon, treating them as if they weren't human. Yugito never tolerated that. The shinobi speaks. All right, Yugito ni, Killer B. We'll let you speak to Lord Gotetsu. Follow us. Both of the waterfall shinobi did 3 hand signs, before aiming their left hands, and yelling, water style, water division jutsu. As they yelled that, the first waterfall shinobi was pulling half of the waterfall to the right, while the second waterfall shinobi was splitting it to the left. They didn't open the entire waterfall, just enough for all 4 of them to enter. The second shinobi spoke. Let's go. The waterfall automatically closes in 10 seconds. With that, the 4 of them ran in the waterfall, and stand on a cave behind it. The 10 seconds pass, and the waterfall closes. They proceed walking through the cave. The cave wasn't very long, as it only took them 3 minutes to walk out through the other side. They then witnessed the village hidden behind the waterfall. The village itself was small, and didn't stick out as much, but what was really breathtaking was the giant tree behind the village. The 4 of them began walking towards the village, and the first waterfall shinobi speaks. Miss Ni, if I may ask, for what purpose do you want that demon? Everybody hates her. What makes your thoughts different? Yugito answers. Those will be answers I will give to your leader. Not to be rude, but you wouldn't understand. Both of the shinobi roll their eyes, and proceed walking through the village, and towards the waterfall village leader's main building. They arrive after a few minutes, and they knock on the door to the leader's office, only to hear a, you may come in. As they open the door and walk in, they see the village leader doing paperwork, who looks up, and sees the 4 of them. The first waterfall shinobi spoke. Lord Gotetsu, these 2 cloud ninjas wish to speak to you. Gotetsu remembers Yugito, but gave B a questionable look. Gotetsu begins speaking. Ah, Yugito ni. Nice to see you again. And I see you brought a friend. B points at Gotetsu in a really gangster way, saying, Yo. Yugito says, this is Killer B, a good comrade of mine's. We are here to ask for a small request. Gotetsu asks, and what will that be? Yugito begins talking. Me and B are both aware that you have hold of the 7-tailed Jinchuriki, known as Fu. What bussiness do you want with that thing? Hearing the word, thing, again makes Yugito's right eye twitch, but kept her cool. We kindly request if we could recruit her, and take her with us to the Cloud Village. B nods in agreement, and Gotetsu asks. Is that so? I'm surprised that there are people in the 5 nations who would want to get close to that demon. Why would such a thought occur to you? Yugito answers. We are on a mission to bring all of the Jinchuriki together, and give them the life they deserve. I can't tolerate that they are being treated the way they are. I want to show Fu, and the rest of the containers that they can get the respect they deserve. Well, I'm glad somebody wants to do something about that. Everybody in the village hates that demon, including myself. I even forbidded my son Shibuki to talk to her. You have my full permission to recruit her. I don't care what happens to her, and neither does the council. They wouldn't want to have a meeting that's about her, anyway. So you can take her today if you want. His words slowly made Yugito angrier and angrier. She didn't show it facially, but her blood was boiling at the fact that he was talking bad about her fellow Jinchuriki. B could see that she was getting angry. Gotetsu continues. Good luck finding her, though. She's not allowed in the village, so she mostly spends her time in the forest. I don't know where in the forest, and I don't care either. Yugito tried to keep herself calmed down, and speaks. We'll find her. Thank you, sir. That's all for today. She turns around, and walks to the exit. Have a good one. B follows her, and closes the door to the office. While they were walking towards the direction of the forest, Yugito finally showed her angered expression on her face. B starts talking normally. You should try to calm down, Yugi sis. Yugito says with a bit of anger on her voice. I can't, B. How dare he talk bad about someone who is blood, flesh, and bones like all of us? It's not fair that not even the village leader, or the council, care about her. If it's like this for the other Jinchuriki. Yugito didn't finish her sentence, as she didn't want to think about that at the moment. She then says, let's just look for her. Lord Gotetsu said she's somewhere in the forest. B responds, you got it. They proceed walking to the forest's direction, and they stop in front of it. The forest was quite large and was surrounded by many trees, but for Jonins like Yugito and B, they wouldn't get lost so easily. Just then, Yugito started focusing her tailed beast's chakra onto her ears. Blue aura started appearing in her ears, taking form of cat-like ears, with blue fire leaking out of both ears. This was done to extend and improve the hearing in Yugito's ears. This allows her to hear perfectly, and the distance of her hearing is at least half a mile. She and B stay quiet for a minute so that she could focus her hearing, and see if she could hear anyone nearby. She did. Yugito speaks. I hear breathing from the east. Only one person. That must be her. Let's go. Yugito jumps onto tree, with B following behind. They begin jumping from tree to tree, to get closer to the breathing. It was indeed getting closer. Yugito jumps down a tree, B following her, and they stop in front of an entrance in a hill. Yugito says, the breathing is coming from here. Be prepared for anything, B. Who knows if she might ambush us? B says in a prideful way. I'm always prepared, Yugi girl. Yugito only smirks at that, but before they could enter, Yugito steps on something. She looks down. She notices she stepped on a waterfall village forehead protector, and picks it up. She wonders. A forehead protector. Could this be hers? B just shrugs, and they walk inside. They see a small river surrounding a tree, and a little dome inside the tree. Yugito and B see a young girl sitting inside the tree, hugging her knees, with her eyes closed. She had short mint green hair, and a somewhat revealing white outfit, sleeves, and sandals. It seemed as if she was deep in thoughts. Yugito whispers. That must be her right there. Maybe we shouldn't approach her so. But B says out loud. Yo, Minty, come out here. This causes Yugito to facepalm, and the girl to snap out of her stupor. B continues. We found your headband, if it's yours. Yawan, it back. The girl stands up on her feet, and walks out of her dome. She begins speaking. Who are you? What are you doing here? This is my home. No one's allowed here. Yugito says. Calm down, we just want to talk. The girl responds. Yeah, that's what they all say. And those who want to talk always end up hurting me. Now go away before I hurt you. Yugito starts taking steps forward, and asks. Your name is Fu, is that correct? The girl responds. I'm telling you. Get away. She makes 3 hand signs, water style, water sword. A water sword forms on her right hand, and aims it at Yugito. You have one last chance to leave before I hurt you. Yugito knew that simple talk wouldn't go anywhere, so she cut straight to the point. You're a Jinchuriki, and you carry a heavy burden. A burden that makes everyone hate you, or hurt you, yes. Fu asks. What do you know about that? Why would you give a shit, anyways? Yugito kindly smiles. I'm glad you asked. You and me, we're alike. We have gone through that same hellhole known as loneliness and hate. Everyone that looked at us saw us as things, and demons, something that's not true at all. We're not demons, we just have them sealed inside of us. Fu harshly asks. Take that stupid smile off your face. And what do you mean, we? B walks up to them, and speaks. Isn't it obvious? We're Jinchuriki just like you, Minty. This causes Fu to widen her eyes, but then show an angered expression again, and got a tighter grip of her water sword. Yeah right, you liars. You know how many people have lied to me so that they can get amusement out of my sorrow. Yugito asks. Should I prove to you that I'm a Jinchuriki just like you? Fu responds. Yeah, like you would have any proof. Yugito grabs a hold of her shirt, and lifts it up, revealing her belly. Fu looks at her as if she was crazy, but then her eyes widen once again, and drops her water sword, which dispels into water. She stares at Yugito's belly and sees a very familiar set of seals on her. Yugito begins speaking. You have a familiar seal like this on your belly, is that correct? Fu stays still for a moment, but then slowly nods. Yugito pulls down her shirt, and asks. Is that proof enough for you? Fu stutters, but says. More than enough. Yugito jumps over the small river, and walks closer to Fu. Yugito smiles once again. My name is Yugito Ni, and I hold the two-tailed cat. Fu talks nervously. As you already know, I'm Fu, and I hold the 7-tailed horn beetle. Killer B, from across the river, introduces himself. Yo, Lil, 7. Killer B be rapping his way to you, and I hold the 8-tailed ox. Fu looks at him with a raised eyebrow, but Yugito speaks. Never mind his rapping, but he's right about the tailed beast he holds. Fu looks back at Yugito, and Yugito begins talking. Let's get back on topic. I'm sure you're wondering why we're here, right? Fu nods, and replies. Yeah, are you sure you're not gonna hurt me? Yugito responds. I'm positive. Fu, I'm completely aware of what you are going through. I might not know the exact details of your events, but pain, suffering, and loneliness has been the bane of your existence. It was my bane of mine for nearly 23 years. But you know something. Despite what I went through, I was inspired to stand up strong, and prove to my village that I was not just a demon, or a thing but a human being just like them. Fu stays quiet, and listens to her words. Yugito continues. I know you're still young, still inexperienced, and I know that every single person in the village hates you. Quote. She puts both of her hands on Fu's shoulders, and looks at her straight in the eye. Quote. Which is why me and B are here to demonstrate to you that there are people like you who have either gone, or are going through your progress. To demonstrate that you aren't alone. To show you that you can still live a life free of loneliness and suffering. Fu, come with us, and we will grant you what you deserve. These words make Fu to release tears out of her eyes, and stutters as she asks. You promise. Yugito smiles, and answers. I will do more than promise. Now please, that beautiful face of yours doesn't need to hide under those tears. Fu smiles, and embraces Yugito with a tight hug, while she continues releasing tears out of her eyes. B stands proudly for Yugito, and smiles, as Yugito pets Fu's head. After a minute of silence, Fu releases Yugito, and looks up to her. Fu begins talking. But, what about Gotetsu? Or the council? Yugito answers. Gotetsu already told me he doesn't care what happens to you, and neither does the council. I could take you with me if I wish. By that embrace you just gave me, I take it you will come with us. Fu wipes the tears off her eyes, and keeps smiling. Yes, I will. I would love to leave this hellhole behind. Yugito says. Good. We'll leave right away. Is there anything you'd like to take with you before you leave? Fu answers. Just one thing. I'll be right back. Fu heads inside the tree again, and immediately comes back out. She comes out carrying a red cylinder-shaped backpack. Fu states. This is the only thing that I really have that I can take with me. Now we can go. Yugito responds. Alright. Then let's get a move on. We have to recruit the rest of the Jinchuriki. Fu was surprised to hear this. Wait, we're gonna go find the other Jinchuriki. Yugito answers. That's right. This brings a lot of hope into Fu's heart. Knowing how her, a Jinchuriki, lived through such a terrible life, she becomes hopeful that getting to know the rest of them will give her her very first friends. She excitedly asks, well, what are we waiting for? Let's get moving. Yugito responds. Right away. The three of them exit Fu's hiding spot, and out of the forest. As the waterfall village comes to their sight, Fu's heart nervously starts beating fast. You said your name is Yugito, right? Yugito answers. That's right. Well, could we go around the village, and not through it? I'm actually pretty scared of their glares, or that they might throw something at me. Please. B responds to that instead. Don't worry, Lil. 7. He then raps. Me and Yugito got your back. With us around, they won't give you a scratch. Fu's sweat drops to what he just said. What? Yugito explains to her. What he's trying to say is that we won't let the villagers hurt you when you have us to protect you. Fu nervously adds in. That's very nice of both of you, but please, that village left me traumatized. Please let's go around. I beg you. Yugito takes a deep breath, but kindly responds. Alright Fu. We'll go around. Fu's heartbeat speed slows down as she hears those words. Thanks. I really don't want to go back in there. The three of them walk around the village, and arrive to the cave that lead to the exit of the village. They approach the waterfall that was blocking the entrance, and the two waterfall shinobi from previously see them arrive. The first waterfall shinobi starts talking. I see you two are taking that little devil out of the village. I'm glad. He stares at Fu. It's about time. Nobody wants you in here. Fu turns her head to the side, and Yugito irritatedly adds in. Please just open the waterfall so that we can leave. HMPH. Was all the shinobi said. With that, him and his partner begin splitting the waterfall in half. The second shinobi adds in. There. Now get out of our village, you filth. Fu hides her eyes under shadows, and Yugito fists her hands in anger, while B doesn't give out any expression. The three containers walk through the waterfall, and it automatically closes. For the first time in her life, Fu could finally sees the outside of the village, and can't help but smile. Yugito then talks. She shows Fu her waterfall forehead protector. We found this outside of your hiding spot. I don't know if you want it back. Fu slowly grabs her forehead protector, and looks at it in anger. She throws it into the river, and sinks down. She adds in. There's a reason I threw it on the ground before you met me. Besides, I'm no longer a ninja of that shithole. Yugito responds. As you like then. Let's get moving. We have the other Jinchuriki to recruit. Fu happily says. Right behind you. They begin walking down the path, and into the forest. B begins talking normally. We gonna get along just fine, Lil. 7. Lord B's gone. Make sure you feel right at home. Fu's sweat drops again, and says. I can't take you seriously by the way you talk, Bumblebee. B corrects her. It's Killer B, Minty. Fu also corrects. And it's Fu, not Minty. Yugito smiles at their conversation, and looks ahead, thinking. One down, 3 more to go. The following events took place 3 weeks ago. It was a cloudy day in the land of stone, and Yugito was making her way to the stone village to deliver a few scrolls and supplies. She was walking peacefully through the large stones that surrounded her, and had been traveling for about 3 hours, non-stop. She decides to take a quick break, and eat a small meal before she continued her journey. Yugito says to herself, I'm fairly close to the stone village, but I'm exhausted. A little break wouldn't hurt. Good thing I bought food at the waterfall village. Yugito unpacks her lunch box, unveiling 3 rice balls. She grabs one of them, but before she could take a bite, she feels a drop of water fall on her face. She looks upwards, and notices that it was going to start raining. Drops were coming down faster and faster. Great! Right when I was about to take my break. She looks around to see if there was any shelter around her. Knowing that she was surrounded by nothing but stones, thoughts came to her mind that maybe she wasn't going to find any sort of shelter in a place like this, but luck got to her when she found a small cave behind her. Yes, she ran towards the cave, and entered, and looks out the cave. I hate getting wet in the rain. If it wasn't for this cave, I would have just ended up running for it. It was already raining cats and dogs outside. She turns around to sit down and enjoy her meal, but then notices a few supplies in the cave. Supplies. She slowly turns around. This might be someone's. When she completely turns around, she sees a very tall man standing in front of her. The man was wearing red armor, a red straw hat, and a mask, with a dark gray kimono shirt on, a furnace on his back which released steam every once in a while, and oval light brown eyes. His garments were all wet, thanks to the rain, and he seemed rather unhappy. Yugito responds. She points with her right thumb. This must be your home, is that right? The man only kept staring at her. Well, I guess I should get. Before she could finish her sentence, the man speaks. Would you care to stay for a break? Oh, that would be very kind of you, but I don't want to be a bother. It's no problem at all. Have a seat. Thank you. After a few minutes, the man starts a small campfire. The armored giant was sitting in front of the campfire, with his legs and arms crossed, while Yugito was sitting on the other side of the campfire, with her knees in front of her, and was already halfway done with her rice ball. Yugito decides to start a conversation. Thank you again, for allowing me to share your home as the rain goes by. The giant didn't say anything, he only kept observing her. Yugito found it weird, but she returned to eating her rice ball. That's when the man decided to speak. There's something different about you. Yugito looks at him, and raises an eyebrow. Different? What would your definition of different be? As if there's something deep inside you that holds a lot of power. Something doesn't seem normal about you, but I think I might have an idea of what it could be. Yugito lowers her rice ball, puts it back inside her lunchbox, and she lowers her legs so that she could get a better look at him. She questions, how are you so sure there's something different about me? Because there's something deep inside of me telling me that. This causes Yugito to raise both of her eyebrows, a bit surprised. She wonders in her thoughts. He couldn't mean. He continues. There's a huge burden I carry inside of me. Inside my very own body. A burden that everybody in my village came to despise me for. And that burden is telling me that you carry something just as similar. This causes Yugito's eyes to widen. You mean, you're a Jinchuriki? That's correct. Yugito looks at him in surprise. You're not lying, are you? Is there any reason for me to lie? Which one? The 5-tailed dolphin horse. And you? The 2-tailed cat. The man nods. Your status is actually the reason why I let you take a break in my home. I'd usually just kick out anybody who's in here. Or worse. I'd rather not get into that right now. Oh, by the way, my name is Yugito ni Han. She smiles. It's a pleasure to meet you, Han. It's not very common for me to meet another Jinchuriki. My feeling is neutral. What brings you around here? I'm on a long list of missions. I was just on my way to the stone village before I decided to take a break. That is until this rain stopped me. I hate getting wet in the rain. Just like a cat, You could say that. You obviously must be from the stone village, right? Correct. I left because of how everybody treated me. I gained nothing but hatred, betrayal, suffering, what any Jinchuriki would go through. I absolutely despise humanity because of that. I understand. As you probably might figure, I went through the same thing. Pain, sorrow, I shed so many tears. I'm thankful I didn't end up hating everybody, though. I was able to prove myself to my village. You know, I've always wanted to know how it would be like having all of us Jinchuriki living together like a family. If I would have to be honest, that would have to be one of my achievements. That would be a wonderful thought, Han. Maybe somebody should find them all, and bring them together. Han uncrosses his arms. That reminds me, there's something I wanted to say about the Jinchuriki topic, but I can't remember. What was it? He puts his thumb and index finger on the chin of his mask, in a thinking position. Yugito only stares at him as he tries to think of what he wanted to say. Han then says, nope. Can't remember. Forgive me, I happen to have a rather flawed memory. It's alright. Why don't you tell me a bit about yourself? Han miles under his mask. For a fellow Jinchuriki, gladly. Yugito and Han started discussing their lives with each other. Han told Yugito of how his parents abandoned him, and left the stone village, after he gained his status of Jinchuriki when he was 4 years old. How he was paired up with a group of 2 female teammates, and a female sensei. He felt admittedly embarrassed of sharing that with Yugito. However, one of his teammates fell in love with him, and he returned the feelings for her. But his whole world turned upside down when she gave her life away, trying to save him in the Third Great Ninja War. His sensei and his other partner blamed him for her death. Han wouldn't normally be comfortable discussing his background with anyone, but seeing as Yugito is a Jinchuriki who would understand, he shared his history with her. Yugito shared her life with Han as well, and they talked for an hour, then the rain started to stop. With that, Yugito picked up her items, and got ready to leave. Yugito says, well, it's time for me to take my leave. I had a good time talking to you, Han. Han says, I feel the same. You may feel free to stop by my home, anytime you'd like. You are much welcome. Yugito smiles at that. They both shake hands, and Yugito makes her way to the stone village. Han was in his thoughts. I'm still wondering about what I wanted to tell her. It'll show up in my thoughts eventually. In the present day, the 3 Jinchuriki make it past the borderline that separated the land of earth and the land of waterfalls. During their walk, Fu was sharing information about herself, her life, the tailed beast he carries, and how she was able to survive by herself. Yugito and B also shared their information with her. Their lives in the Cloud Village, how they met, and the missions and adventures they have gone through. After walking for an hour, Yugito decided they should stop at a village to give Fu something to eat. When they did stop at a restaurant in a village, Fu asked for the most expensive thing on the menu, and much to Yugito and B's dismay, they decided to buy it for her. When they sat down, Fu was eating her food slowly, calmly, and with much delight. Yugito begins talking. Be thankful, Fu. We're not usually ones to buy such expensive food. But seeing as you didn't get a whole lot of food back in your village, we decided to grant you what you wanted. B wonders. Yugi girl, that don't mean we'll buy expensive food to the other Jinchuriki, right? We ain't made of money, you know. Yugito smiles in an embarrassed way. I know. I didn't think about that when Fu asked me to buy her something so expensive. Fu, you'll be the first and last one we'll buy expensive food to. Also, don't ask for food like that again. Fu smiles happily. That makes Fu feel kind of special. And don't worry, Yugito. You and Killer Bee already did a good deed, and took Fu out of that village. And for that, Fu really must thank you. She gives out a kind and innocent smile. For someone who spent all of her life unhappy, Fu had a very beautiful smile. It wasn't often that she smiled, but when she did, it was a very sweet and innocent smile. Yugito notices something odd about the way Fu was talking. Why suddenly talk in third person? Fu answers, oh, there are times where I like talking in third person. Especially when I'm happy. I'm happy at really rare times, though. I thought it would be a really neat way to speak. Yugito says, well, it is really neat. I never though of doing that. Fu smiles again. Her smile made Yugito feel satisfied. She herself didn't smile a lot either due to her unhappy past. It was Bee who helped her bring a smile and joy on her face, and it made Yugito feel a whole lot better about herself. Seeing a fellow Jinchuriki smile satisfied her more than anything. She felt as if she accomplished something important. Yugito smiles and says, oh, and you're very welcome, Fu. Anything for our new friend. Fu asks, so hey, what are the other Jinchuriki like? Yugito answers, I've only met 2 of them besides you. There's Han, a very independent man who lives by himself outside of his home village. He's the one we'll be going to recruit next. Then there's Naruto Uzumaki. He's a year younger than you, and I talked to him one day. He's very hyperactive, and very alive, despite his background. He has a pretty big dream of becoming Hokage. We'll be recruiting him last, but I've been having second thoughts. He's the only Jinchuriki I know of that doesn't know about his status, so now, I'm not sure if I should recruit him. Fu adds in, not only that, but you'd be taking away his dream of becoming Hokage. Yes, that too. But there's no harm in getting to see him one last time. Is he the only one as young as Fu? Well, there's also Gaara from the Sand Village. He's the same age as Naruto. I haven't met him personally, but I heard of him when I was at his home village. I heard he doesn't have a very easy attitude, so getting along with him won't be easy. Fu responds, okay. I guess Fu can treat them like my 2 little brothers, then. I mean, if that Gaara kid allows it. Yugito corrects, it's Gaara. Fu shrugs, meh, same thing. She then comes to a realization. Wait. You said he's from the Sand Village. As in, a village surrounded by nothing but sand, and heat really hot weather. Yugito teases her. Oh, don't tell me you're afraid of a bit of sand. It's not the sand Fu's worried about, it's the heat. Fu really hates hot weather. She crosses her arms, and makes a pouty face. B says, don't worry, Minty, we just gone. Get Lil, one and get out of there. Fu says unamused, it goes by quickly. I'm not used to hot temperatures. Oh, another question. How many Jinchuriki are there? Yugito answers. There's 9 of us in total. You, me, B, the 3 I just mentioned, plus 3 more. One of them is Yagura, the current Mizukage, but he's become a dictator, and is dealing with his own problems in the Mist Village, so we won't interfere with that. And the other 2 are currently unknown. They're most likely traveling throughout the 5 nations, and they could be anywhere. So, who are we recruiting next? Next will be Han. I know of his location, so he won't be hard to find. He's not too far away, either. Fu adds in excitedly. Sweet. I can't wait to meet the next Jinchuriki. Fu is getting excited at the fact that I get to be with others who are like me. Yugito says. Believe me, Fu, we're just as excited as you are. Fu finishes her meal, and puts her chopsticks down. Ah, that was delicious. I haven't had food this good in ever. Yugito and B also finish their meal, and Yugito speaks. Han is only an hour away, so if we're all done here, we can get a move on. I just hope he's in his home place by the time we get there. Fu excitedly says, okay then, let's get moving. The 3 of them stand up from the table, and Yugito and B pay for the meal. Then they exit the restaurant, and leave the little village. As they walked, Fu decides to ask Yugito and B a few questions about them. So Yugito, B, how did you two gain the respect you have now? Yugito says, I'm glad you asked, Fu. Me and B saved the Cloud Village. Fu widens her eyes a bit. You did? Nah, you're lying. B adds in, she's right, Minty. Me and Yugi sis saved the Cloud Village. That's how we got the respect we have now. Oh yeah, what did you two do, then? Yugito explains. Well, I won't go into much detail, but it happened 13 years ago. I had just recently turned into a Chunin when that event happened. A clan known as the Yoryacha clan, a clan that lives outside the Five Nations, decided to step into the Cloud Village and ruthlessly claim it as their new home. They thought they were superior to everyone else, and to some extent, they were right. The clan was best known for their fire-style jutsu, and used it in such a way that I've never seen before. Their leader, known as Osamu, challenged our current Raikage to a duel. Osamu said that if he wins, the Cloud Village and everyone in it would be his for the taking, and he won. B fists his hands when remembering that, and Fu interrupts. Wait, you're telling me that some random dude beat a cage? Yugito says, I saw their fight myself. Not to praise him, but Osamu did some incredible things. B interrupts. I wanted to give that Osamu dude a good poundin' for what he did to ma bro. Fu asks. The Raikage is your brother. B answers. Ya got that right, Lil. 7. Yugito continues. Going back to the story, for the next 3 days after that fight, the village became a war zone. Our Cloud Shinobi couldn't stand being ruled by some outsider, so they declared war against the Yoryacha clan. Unfortunately, the clan was winning, and our shinobi were severely wounded. The clan was that powerful. Fu asks. And where were you and B during that time? Yugito responds. We were watching over the Raikage. The Cloud Shinobi were taking care of the clan, so he didn't want us to interfere in the war. B adds in. But when the Cloud Shinobi numbers were going down, we chose not to listen to ma bro, and decided to take care of that Osamu dude ourselves. Yugito continues. Raikage was pretty angry when we disobeyed his orders, but in the end, he was proud of us when we killed Osamu together. That man did some pretty insane stuff when we fought him. He even blew up the Raikage tower, which was later reconstructed, of course. When we took him down, it scared the Yoryacha clan, and they fled from the village. Fu questions. So, why did the clan want to take over the village? Yugito answers. We don't know. There could be many reasons as to why. Oh, alright. So I take it the village started praising the two of you when you killed that Osamu guy. B answers. Ya bet they did, Minty. Fu questions again. So wait, Yugito, you were only 13 when you took down a man that was able to defeat your Raikage. Yugito answers. Yes, but it's not like I did it alone. B did most of the work, actually. Well, that's a pretty cool story. I just wish I could do something as great as that. Also, I'm a little nervous that the Cloud Village might treat me the same way the Waterfall Village did. Fu, if there's something you should know, is that the Cloud Village has become very friendly when it comes to Jinchuriki. Sure, they treated me and B badly when we were younger, but after that event, they started realizing the great things that us Jinchuriki can achieve. And I can guarantee you that you will feel right at home when you step into the Cloud Village. B reminds her. Yugi girl, ya know she's staying at Turtle Island, right? Yugito responds. I'm perfectly aware, B. But Turtle Island is part of the Cloud Village, so it's pretty much the same. Fu wonders. Turtle what? Turtle Island. It's where you and the rest of the Jinchuriki will be staying. The Raikage wouldn't have a problem having you folks living inside the village itself, but we figure it wasn't going to be easy finding a house for all 4 of you. So Turtle Island was our first option. Fu asks, are there bugs in that island? Yugito answers, plenty of bugs. Why do you ask? Well, I really like bugs. They were honestly my only friends. I talk to them, and they talk to me back. So, you can communicate with bugs. I can. Fu found out it was because of my tailed beast, the seven-tailed horn beetle. He's the reason why Fu can communicate with bugs, and they can communicate back with me. But even if I didn't have the horn beetle sealed inside of me, Fu would still like bugs. They're very interesting, well organized, and they always do their job. Yugito puts her thumb and her index finger on her chin, in a thinking position. Huh, I wish that could be the case with me. I love cats, but sadly I can't talk to them. She turns to B. You can't talk to oxes, can you B? B simply responds. Nah. They continue talking and sharing stories for the next hour. Their path was slowly turning into a desert-like area, and they could see many huge stones up ahead. Fu was not happy with their current location. Yugito, you said that Han Guy was living alone in here. I don't want to be rude, but geez, how can he do so? There's nothing but stones and rocks. She lightly kicks a small rock as she walked. Yugito says, you wouldn't want stone ninjas to hear what you just said, Fu. People from the stone village get easily offended if you say something bad about their territory. I guess it's because I like trees, water, and seeing green, but anyways, how long until we reach Han? Yugito stops, which makes her two companions stop as well. She then says, we're here, actually. The three Jinchuriki were surrounded by tall stones, and dry grounds. They wait for a few seconds, then Fu asks, well, where is he? After she asks, the three of them hear footsteps behind him. They turn around, and they see a tall man in red armor. Yugito was happy to see the man, B was surprised, and Fu's jaw nearly dropped to the floor at the sight of the hideously tall man. He stops in front of Fu with his right hand tucked inside his kimono shirt, simply saying, greetings. Fu was looking up to him, saying, whoa, you're freaking tall. Han responds, I get that a lot. Fu's height only reached the upper part of Han's stomach. It was clear that Fu was just as short as any 13-year-old genin. B walks up to Han, and playfully slaps his shoulder, and raps. Yo, Han homie. The name's Killer B. Now do me a favor, and come with me. Han looks at him, unamused. I'm already annoyed by you. And what do you mean to come with you? Yugito walks up to them, and stops in front. Hold on, B. Don't jump onto the topic just yet. Han looks at Yugito. Glad to see you decided to stop by, Yugito. Yugito responds. Good to see you too, Han. Han asks. So, what made you want to stop by? And who are these two? Referring to Fu and B. Yugito introduces. This right here is Fu. As she puts her hand on Fu's shoulder. Fu kindly asks, how's it going? Yugito takes her hand off Fu's shoulder, and continues. And over there is B. B taps his shoulders 2 times with his fist, then makes a peace sign. They're both Jinchuriki just like you and me. Han was fairly surprised to hear that, and looks at both Fu and B. Is that so? Fu responds. You bet we are. No wonder there seemed something different about the two of you. Yugito continues. The reason we are here is because we want to ask something of you. Han asks. And what will that be? Remember that talk we had about the Jinchuriki 3 weeks ago? Well, I put a lot of thought into it, and I decided to start a mission to recruit all of them, and bring them all together. We would like for you to join us, Han. Oh, recruiting all the Jinchuriki. For what purpose? It's not a very demanding purpose. We just want to give the Jinchuriki the positive life they deserved. You and I both know that Jinchuriki are full of nothing but sorrow and depression, and I want to show them that they are not alone, and that there are people who have gone through the same thing, for the same reason. That's why we want to bring them all together. Now, what I want to ask you is, will you join us? Well, I do like the fact that there are others who are like me. However, I don't exactly mind being by myself. Fu puts both her hands on her hips, and adds in. Hey, come on. Aren't you interested in meeting people who are exactly like you? People who have gone through the same crappy life. People who can share your pain. Yugito also adds in. She's right, Han. I will say, I won't force you to come with us, but in that conversation we had, you told me you were interested in meeting the other Jinchuriki. You said you would like for that to be one of your achievements. Han goes into deep thoughts, but then speaks. I did say that, didn't I? Yugito asks. So what do you say, Han? Will you join us? Han crosses his arms, and thinks for a few seconds, then speaks. How about we make things a little more interesting? Yugito, I will join the three of you, under one condition. Yugito wonders. What will that condition be? If you, Yugito, accept to fight me. This catches Yugito and B's attention, and surprises Fu. Yugito asks, you want to challenge me to a fight? Han answers. That's right. But this fight won't just be to see if you can get me to join your team, I also want to see just how strong you are. You are the one who wants to bring the Jinchuriki together, yes? Then show me what the one in charge of this little mission can do. Yugito smiles in a very cocky way. Very well. I accept your challenge. After a minute, Yugito and Han were standing a few feet away from each other. Fu was sitting on top of a large rock, and B was standing next to her. Fu says, Welp, this'll be fun to watch. B raps, Ma girl Yugito will put up a fight. She'll send Han flying sky high. Fu only shakes her head at B's questionable rapping. Han speaks. The rules will be simple, Yugito. If you can knock me down onto the ground at least once, I will join you. Yugito responds. As you like. Also, don't dare underestimate me just because I'm a kunoichi. Han responds. Oh, I would never make such first impressions. What I'm hoping for, however, is for you not to hold back. Yugito's fingernails start getting longer, and sharper, and she gets in a fighting stance. I'll use you as a cat scratcher if I have to. Han gets in a fighting stance as well. That's more like it. Fu says. Whoa. Those are some cool fingernails she's got. B says normally. It's part of what Yugito's tailed beast allows her to do with her physical body. Even her toenails can get longer, ya feel me? Fu looks at him oddly. Yeah, I guess. Yugito and Han stare at each other for a few more seconds, waiting to see who would make the first move. The silence ended when Yugito started sprinting towards Han. She jumps and swings her left claws at Han's head, only for him to duck under, and grab Yugito's arm. He swings her over him, and throws her behind him. She, however, lands on her feet, and sprints at him once more. She swings her right claws downwards, but Han moves back. She then swings both of her clawed hands upwards, only for Han to block it, leaving scratches on his armor. Yugito swings her left leg, aiming for Han's head once more, and doing a full 360 spin while at it, but he ducks yet again, and makes a jump, swinging his knee at her. She didn't have time to dodge it, so she grabs his knee with both of her hands instead. But she didn't see Han's fist coming, and he delivers a hit on Yugito's face. This makes Fu gasp, and B to be surprised. Han's attack causes Yugito to let go of him, and lose her balance, but she regains her composure quickly, and faces Han again. Han taunts her. What's the matter, Yugito? Something's slowing you down. Yugito says. Oh, now you've done it. Yugito stands on all fours, focuses chakra on her feet and hands, while her toenails get longer and sharper. Han gets ready for whatever was to come. She charges at him like a cat, faster than before, and swings her claws horizontally. Han blocks it, and was going to deliver an attack, but Yugito quickly did a backflip, and manages to scratch Han's torso, and mask with the nails on her toes. She was still in the air, and made another 360 flip, with her head back on top, and feet back on the bottom. Before she lands on the ground, she swings her claws downwards to Han's face, but he quickly grabs her hands before her claws could touch his face. She then kicks him on the torso, which sends him backwards, and lets go of her. She lands back on her feet. Yugito takes a deep breath. Looks like I'm making a comeback. Han says. You've got a lot of speed. But and you break through my defenses. Watch me do so. Fu cheered. Yeah, you get him, Yugito. Yugito smiles at Fu's cheering, but keeps her focus on Han. Han says in his thoughts. My turn to be on the offensive. Han then releases steam from the furnace on the back of his armor, and charges full speed ahead at Yugito, and swings a punch at her. She ducks down, but he quickly makes a 180, and swings another punch at her, which forces her to dodge again, but she dodges by getting on her hands. She swings her legs forward at him, and once again kicks him in the torso, but Han quickly grabs her foot, and swings her over him again, and throws her onto the ground, causing Yugito to land on her chest. She turns around on her back, only to see Han jumping up in the air, and releases much steam, to boost him down faster, and land on TP of Yugito. She, however, immediately rolls out of the way and gets up. Han lands on solid ground again, cracking the ground in the progress. Fu says, whoa, he did some pretty good damage to the ground. If that were her he hit, she would had been a goner. B explains, Yugi sis is known for having quick reflexes like a cat, yo. An attack like that ain't gone, touch her. Han charges at Yugito once again with steam coming out of his furnace, and swings another punch at Yugito. She sidesteps, but Han quickly turns around to continue attacking her. He swings his left fist downwards, then his right fist upwards, causing Yugito to avoid both attacks. He swings his left elbow at her, and aims for her face, but she ducks under. He then does 3 spinning low kicks with his left leg, forcing Yugito to jump back. Han's next attack was a ram. He releases more steam from his furnace, and does a charging attack trying to ram his left shoulder at Yugito, but she stops him with both her hands. Han, however, swings his right fist at her, but Yugito was smarter about it this time, and grabs his fist with her left hand. Yugito kicks Han in the stomach with her left leg, which causes Han to lose his balance. She then does a spin, and kicks Han in the face, with her left foot. The impact of the kick causes him to turn around, and give Yugito an opening. She runs towards him, slides through the middle of his legs, and delivers a blow to Han's face with both of her kicks, causing Han to fly backwards, and fall on his left side. Yugito stands back on her feet, and looks at Han, who was slowly getting up. Fu smiles happily at what had happened, and smirks. Han stands up, and faces Yugito. Yugito asks with a smirk on her face. So, how was that? Han stares at her for a few seconds, then smiles under his mask. HMPH. I guess you win. Yugito smiles. Fu and B approach her. Fu says, that was awesome, Yugito. He really hit the ground hard. B gives her a thumbs up. Good job, Yugi girl. Yugito looks at them, still smiling. Thanks guys. She looks back at Han. So Han, ready to take your leave? Han says, I am. It'll be nice traveling the world, and seeing something new, for a change. Would you like to take your supplies with you? Yes I would. Give me a few minutes while I pack. I'll be right back. Sure. Go ahead. Han heads to his cave, and packs all of his supplies. After 3 minutes, he comes out carrying 2 bags on his back and walks up to the 3 Jinchuriki. Han says, all set. We can head out now. Yugito says, excellent. Next up will be the Sand Village. I hope you folks like the heat, because it'll be burning in there. Fu complains, oh man, let's just go quickly and get it over with. With that, the 3 Jinchuriki and their newest member take their leave, and head south to the Sand Village. Yugito says in her thoughts, only 2 more to go. The sky was now a light orange, and our heroes were walking through the desert of the Land of Wind, making their way straight for the Sand Village. While the 3 adults were walking through the sandy land without a problem, the only teenager in the group was falling a bit behind due to the desert's heat. Yugito looks back at her. Fu, you're falling behind. Pick up your pace. Fu complains. I'm sorry. I really hate this heat. She looks down to her feet. Fu's little feet can't keep up with this burning sand. You have sandals on. I know, but it's like the heat is going right through them. Han looks back at her. How about I give you a little lift? Fu looks at him, and blinks once, but then she smiles widely. Would you? That would be great. This causes Fu to run up to the group. I always wanted a piggyback ride. Oh, I'll give you something better than a piggyback ride. He takes off his straw hat, and hands it to Fu. Here, hold this. Fu holds on to it. Okay. But what could be better than a piggyback re? Han grabs Fu by her armpits, and lifts her up. Whoa hey. He then places Fu over his head, and sits her down on the back of his neck, with her legs resting on each of Han's shoulders. He holds on to her ankles so that she doesn't fall off. Fu looks around, in a dumbfounded way. Oh, she smiles. Haha, you're right. This is better. Yugito looks at them. Wow, I never expected you to do something as nice as that, Han. Han replies, it's the least I can do for my new friends. He looks up at Fu. You better not get used to this, though. Fu puts Han's straw hat on her head, still smiling. Oh, don't worry. I won't take advantage of this. Being tall really benefits you, though. Except for when I constantly bump my head. Fu turns her head to different directions. Man, I can see further into the desert. She then looks forward, and points. I think I can even see the sand village from here. Up ahead. B says. Then we ain't far. Let's move, homies. They continue walking, as Fu was really enjoying her new seat. Han speaks. Oh, by the way, Yugito. I now remembered what I wanted to tell you. Yugito asks. What is it? It's about my buddy, Rushi. He's a Jinchuriki as well. This catches Fu and B's attention, and Yugito widens her eyes. Yugito asks. You know another Jinchuriki? Han answers. I do. He's a good friend of mine, and also from the Stone Village. He spends all of his time traveling, and seeing the world. He actually gave me a visit today, about 30 minutes before you folks arrived. But, how can you completely forget about him if we spent most of our time talking about Jinchuriki? I did tell you my memory was bad, didn't I? Fu teases him. You have a bad memory. Han says. Don't push it. Fu only giggles. Yugito asks. What can you tell me about this Rushi? He was my very first friend, actually. I've known him since I was just a boy. He's 53 years old, so he's most likely the current oldest Jinchuriki. And he holds the four-tailed great ape. Do you know where he is? No, I forgot. Yugito's sweat drops. Oh. The conversation went on for the next 20 minutes. By the time those minutes went by, they were already in front of the village's tall entrance. Yugito says. Finally made it. Now we just have to speak with the cage. Han says to Fu, who was still sitting on his shoulders. Well, Fu, it's time for you too. Fu cuts him off. Yeah, I got it. She jumps off his shoulders, and lands back on the sandy round. Fu takes off Han's straw hat off her head, and turns to him. Here you go. Thanks for the ride, too. I had a nice view of everything. She hands his hat back to him, and he puts it back on his head. You're welcome. The group walks up to a sand ninja on guard of the entrance. The sand ninja says, State your business. Yugito peeks. We wish to speak to your cage. What matters do you have with Lord Rasa? It's about your Jinchuriki. We wish to recruit him. Right this way. The sand shinobi leads the team through the rather lengthy entrance of the sand village. They make it past the entrance, and see the sand village right before them. It was a very yellow, and very dry place, but still had many inhabiting it. The sand ninja points onward. That tower right up ahead, the tallest tower in the village, that's where the cage works. Let's just hope he's not working on anything important while the four of you walk in to talk to him. Now, have a nice day, and don't cause any trouble. With that, the sand ninja takes his leave. Fu says, I definitely would not want to live in such a dry place like this. Yugito says to her. Just don't say that in front of the cage, will you not? Fine, I'll be quiet about it. B says. Let's go, ma fools. We got a Jinchuriki to get. He then marches straight away to the cage building, with the others following behind. Han asks Yugito, is he always like this? Yugito says, no, he's just excited to have Jinchuriki students that can call him, Lord Killer B. Fu adds in, yeah right, like I'll ever call him that. They proceed walking forward through the streets of the Sand Village, and enter the cage building. They reach the cage's office, but before they enter, the cage's assistant, a young man who seemed to be in his early 20s, enters the cage's office. He says, Lord Rasa, there are 4 shinobi from different villages who wish to speak to you. Rasa asks to himself, what group would want to visit me at this time? He then speaks to his assistant. Fine, send them in. His assistant walks out the door, and allows the group to enter the office. The cage found the group a weird bunch. While he found Yugito to be the normal one out of the 4, it's not every day you find a man in shades, another fully armored, and a teenager with them. Han, however, decides to wait outside. Rasa speaks. HMPH. You folks look like assassins. If you're here to kill me, showing up right in front of my office door is not the way to do so. Yugito responds. I can guarantee you we have no such plans, Lord Cage. Rasa examines Yugito, then speaks. I remember you. Yugito, yes, you came here a few weeks ago on behalf of a request for a mission, if I'm not mistaken. That's correct. We are here to ask of a request. Please make it quick. I have a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. What is this request of yours? I understand that the one known as Gaara is your son, is that correct? That thing is not my son. But what business do you want with him? Yugito's left eye twitches as she hears that word again, but she speaks. If you were to allow it, we would request to recruit him. Rasa wonders. Recruit him? For what purpose? Yugito continues. Well, Lord Rasa, you must obviously be aware of the miserable and lonely life your son must have, and because of that, we aim to give him understanding and meaning to his life. We want to make him feel loved for a change. He can be considered a hero, after all. Rasa looks at Yugito straight in the eye. And who are you to have the right to decide what's best for Gaara? And what makes him a hero? Yugito crosses her arms. We're Jinchuriki, just like him. Rasa widens his eyes as he hears that. Yugito continues. And he is a hero because he is the reason his tailed beast is not running loose. He is the reason why your village and your people are still standing. People may see him as a demon, but in reality, he's the one that's protecting them all. Rasa asks. So, just because you're like him, means you have a better understanding of how he feels? Yugito answers. That's exactly it. When I was here weeks ago, I heard how harshly people were talking of him. Saying what a monster he was, and how he deserves to die. Me and my friends here were told the same thing, and we're here to show him that there are people like him out there. Alone, hated, feared, unloved, that's how he feels, and how we felt. We wish to change that with him, if you would allow it. Fu puts her hands on her hips and nods and smiles, while B smirks. Rasa only chuckles at her words. HM. He then puts a serious face. Miss Ni, you don't understand Gaara's situation. He stands up from his chair, and walks over the table. You need to really know him in order to understand him. As someone who has known him since the day he was born, I know what he feels, and what he is. He stands in front of Yugito. He is indeed a monster. That word once again angers Yugito on the inside, but remains calm on the outside. She proceeds to ask, and what makes you so sure? He's unstable. His ideal is to be completely alone. It's what keeps him, and the beast, calm. Without his solitude, he will kill, and won't give up until the sky starts raining with the blood of his targets. Yugito asks. What about his two older siblings? Rasa answers. He doesn't truly love them. He doesn't even see them as related to him. Tamari and Kankuro fear him just as much as anybody else. Though they still are pretty protective over him. No one has ever loved Gaara, so he has nobody else to love but himself. That's all that matters to him. We can change that. We are willing to show him the love he needs and deserves. Rasa smirks. You're pretty amusing. He starts walking to his left. Normally I'd have to speak to the council about letting go of our Jinchuriki. He then walks to his right. And I did have plans of using Gaara as a weapon, but... Fu cuts him off. Whoa whoa whoa. Hold on a second. You want to use your own son as a weapon? What kind of father are you? Rasa answers. Like I said, I don't see him as my son, I see him as a monster, which I seek to use as a weapon. This angers both Fu and Yugito, but Yugito still didn't show it, and had a hard time holding her anger in. B says unamused. Not cool, Bratha. Han was paying close attention from outside the office. He wasn't very surprised to hear what the cage had to say. Rasa faces Yugito again, and continues. As I was saying, you folks seem pretty determined to show Gaara some light, so I'll let him go with you. I'm actually fairly interested in seeing just how much Gaara can change with you Jinchuriki. You claim that you are like him, so you'll understand him. Prove it to me. Prove that Gaara can change with your help. The fact that the cage approved of Yugito's request calms her down. She speaks. Where can we find him? Rasa starts making his way back to his seat. He should be back from a mission by now. He sits down. He usually spends his time in the sand village training fields behind the village. He smirks again. HMPH. Good luck at convincing him, though. You'll have to speak to Tamari and Kankuro about it as well, and like I said, they're very protective when it comes to Gaara. We'll figure something out. I'll inform the council about my decision. They don't care much about Gaara, so they put him on my hands. However, he needs to put down his Sand Shinobi status before he leaves, or he will become a missing nin. You don't want that, do you? No, sir. Good. Report to me as soon as you convince Gaara to come with you. I'll put down his Sand Shinobi status then. Yugito nods. We will. Thank you for your time, Lord Cage. Rasa concludes. You are dismissed. With that, Yugito, Fu, and B exit the office, and close the door, while the cage gets back to his work. In the streets of the Sand Village, the four Jinchuriki were making their way to the back of the village. Fu begins to talk. I can't believe it. That sorry excuse for a cage wants to use his one son as a weapon. What kind of person would do that? Han tells her. Keep it down, will you? You want to be thrown out of the village for insulting their cage. Fu scratches the back of her neck, embarrassed. Right. Though I find it funny that his siblings fear him, yet they're protective with him. Yeah, fear and protection don't exactly go together. Yugito remains quiet, but B looks at her, and asks. Feelin' da same way as before, Yugi girl? Yugito speaks. Yeah, I could hardly contain my anger when he called Gaara those words. Han asks. Monster, and thing. Yugito looks at him. Han, how could you say those words without feeling anger? Because I'm used to it. Yugito looks forward again, maintaining her face of disapproval. Let's just go get Gaara. They proceed walking to the back of the village. When they arrived, they see the training area was completely empty. There was only one person there, a boy with spiky red hair, a sand gourd on his back, and a mostly dark outfit, with brown and white around him. He was currently sitting on top of a boulder. The boy feels their presence approaching him. Without looking at them, he speaks. What do you want? Yugito asks. Are you Gaara? Yes, and I'll ask again. What do you want? My name is Yugito ni. We have a request for you. Gaara stands up from the boulder, and turns to them. He asks. What is it? Yugito replies. We are traveling throughout the 5 nations looking for Jinchuriki such as yourself. Do you seek to capture me? Yugito slowly walks up to him. No, we seek to help you. B speaks to her. Careful Yugi sis. His chakra feels dangerous. Yugito stops, and Gaara asks. What help could you possibly give me? I don't need anybody's help. Besides, why do you want to help me? Yugito answers. You and I share the same past of loneliness and hatred. Nobody loved us throughout our lives, and I'm sure you're still going through that. Yugito's words slowly start angering Gaara. Don't remind me of my past. My past is something I talk with no one. What could you possibly know about it? Because I was hated for the same reason as you. She looks back at the other Jinchuriki. We were all hated for the same reason. She looks back at Gaara. Hated for the same reason. What do you mean? Me, and my friends behind me, were Jinchuriki. Just like you. Gaara's expression doesn't change. I've heard enough lies. Now leave, or I'll kill all of you. Yugito then does exactly what she did when she met Fu. She raised her shirt, and showed her belly to Gaara. Gaara wasn't one to be surprised easily, but what he saw next surprisingly caught him off guard. Yugito shows Gaara the seal that keeps her tailed beast inside of her, which interestingly surprises him. Yugito asks him, does this seal look familiar? Gaara was speechless. Even he was surprised to see that seal. He couldn't believe it. A person in front of him who was hated and abandoned for the same reason. Someone who knows how he feels, and what he went through. Someone that could finally understand him. He slowly walks up to her, and gently places his hand on Yugito's belly. The other Jinchuriki question his action. Yugito confirms. Yes, the seal is real, Gaara. He takes his hand off her belly, and Yugito pulls her shirt down. Gaara looks at Yugito with shock on his face. You're like me. Yugito gently smiles. Exactly like you. I know exactly how you feel. You were lonely throughout your entire life. Everybody called you ugly words like monster and thing. You've been betrayed, abandoned, or at some points, used. I know this, Gaara. I have been there, and I have experienced it, all because of this heavy burden I carry. Gaara only stares at her. I'm sure it must be hard for you to believe me. I'm sure you don't trust anyone because of your tragic past, but you can trust us. Yugito slowly puts her hand on Gaara's shoulder, without hesitation. Gaara isn't one to let anybody casually touch him, but with Yugito, he felt different about it. He started feeling that Yugito wasn't lying, especially since she wasn't afraid of him, like everybody else is. Yugito continues. Gaara, if you would allow it, and if your siblings would allow so as well, I would like you to come with me. I want to give you, and my new friends, a life where you can feel truly loved. A life of real and honest people who will care for you. A life where I promise you, you will never be betrayed, and I promise you, you will gain love and respect. Gaara started calming down, and the other Jinchuriki only watched with a satisfied look on their faces. They hear the voice of a female. Who are you? What are you doing with Gaara? All of them turn around, and see a blonde teenage girl wearing white with a giant fan on her back, and a teenage boy wearing completely black, purple face painting, and what looked to be a mummy on his back. The girl spoke. I asked who are you? The two of them walk up to Gaara. The boy asked. Gaara, are you alright? Gaara looks at them. Yes, I'm fine. Yugito asks. Are you Temari and Kankuro? Temari responds. Yeah, what do you want with Gaara? We were talking to him about something important. But seeing as his two older siblings are here, we can discuss it with you as well. Fu and the others walk up to them, and Kankuro asks. What do you wanna to talk about? We wish to recruit him. Temari asks. Recruit him? Just who do you think you are to just go ahead and recruit him? He's our brother. As a Jinchuriki like him, I want to help him gain the love and respect he needs. Something he never had. Kankuro says, surprised. Wait, what? You're a. Temari finishes the sentence. A Jinchuriki. Yeah, right. A Jinchuriki doesn't just show up in a village. B says. These Jinchuriki do, baby. Kankuro was still surprised. You're all. Fu crosses her arms says, smiling. That's right. Not exactly something to be prideful for, but it's a big title Gaara and the four of us hold. Tamari was unamused. Well, I find it hard to believe that four Jinchuriki would show up to the sand village. Does the case cage even know you're here? Han speaks. We spoke to him a few minutes ago. He approves of Gaara leaving with us. Kankuro stutters. What? Father wouldn't. Yugito says. And we figured we would let Gaara's older siblings know about our plans. Tamari args. Well, tough luck. Even if you are Jinchuriki like Gaara, he's not going anywhere with you. Gaara speaks. Yes, I am. Tamari looks at him in shock. I'm leaving with them. Tamari quickly asks him. Gaara, what are you talking about? You don't even know them, and you want to go with them. Gaara explains. Yugito could truly understand me. You two haven't figured out how I feel, and you haven't throughout my entire life. She knows how I feel, and understands what I have gone through. And she doesn't fear me. He steps forward. Miss Yugito, I wish to join you and your group. Yugito, while not by much, showed a surprised expression. I have been convinced that you are a Jinchuriki like me, and that you share the same past I did. I wish to walk by your path, and learn how I can gain the love and respect you promised. Yugito looks at Tamari and Kankuro, then back at Gaara. Are you sure this is what you want? Your siblings seem to care about you. No, they don't. They only care about what's inside of me, and that it doesn't run loose. Miss Yugito, you have showed me that you care about my well-being. And that is why I will go with you. Tamari begs. Gaara, please. You can't. Kankuro interrupts. Tamari, you and I both know we can't argue with Gaara. If going with them is what's going to keep him calm, then let him go. But we don't even know these people. Fu says. Then we should get started and get along. Tamari yells. Shut it, brat. Now's not the time to tell jokes. I'm not just gonna get along with you. This makes Fu look at her bad. Kankuro tells Tamari. Tamari, just let him join them. They seem to know what they're talking about if they've gone through the same past Gaara has. Kankuro, whose side are you on? I'm on nobody's side. I'm just being reasonable about this situation. Gaara seems positive about going, so if that's what'll calm him down, then let him. Tamari stays quiet, and looks down on the sand, with a mad expression on her face. Yugito asks. Well, Gaara. Gaara finally says. I'm going with Miss Yugito and her allies. He looks back at Tamari and Kankuro. And there's nothing the two of you can do about it. Tamari slowly lifts her head up. Gaara. Gaara looks at Yugito straight in the eye. Miss Yugito, I will warn you from here on now. If you ever betray me, or ever dare to do so, I will kill you, and your friends. This catches B and Han's attention, while Fu swallows hard, and her pupilless eyes get smaller. Yugito responds. You've got yourself a deal. Gaara says. Good. Fu says in her thoughts. He looks like a psychopath, so there's no way in heaven or hell that I'll betray him. Yugito tells him. Your case cage asked us to take you to him, so he can put down your sand shinobi status. Gaara says. Fine. I want to leave as soon as possible. Tamari asks. Wait, can we just have a few minutes with Gaara before he leaves? Gaara immediately says. No, there's nothing left that I need of you two. This angers Tamari, and she looks at Yugito. Yugito looks at her. You can take my brother with you, but don't you ever show your face around here again. She looks at the other Jinchuriki. Neither of you. Fu frowns, while the adult Jinchuriki stay neutral about her statement. Gaara ends the argument. Let's go. I don't want to waste any more time. He proceeds walking to the entrance of the sand village, with the other Jinchuriki following behind. Yugito looks back at the two older siblings, almost feeling guilty for taking their younger brother away from them. She looks forward, and proceeds walking. Night had finally fallen and it had been an hour since the four Jinchuriki, and their latest addition to the team, left the sand village. They had already left the desert, and entered a forest-like area. Gaara, as much as he hated seeing his own father face to face, had already signed a few papers to put down his sand shinobi status. Fu tries to begin a conversation with Gaara. So, how's it like to finally leave your village? Gaara answers. I don't like showing it, but I'm relieved to had left the sand village. It wasn't exactly a place I liked living in, especially after the way I was treated. And I didn't really care about leaving Tamari and Konkuro behind, either. While I did work together with them, I saw them as an annoyance, and they didn't know me well enough to understand me. I kind of know how that feels. When Yugito and B recruited me, they really knew how I felt, and what I went through because they went through the same. I hated living in my old village. They all treated me like crap, and some even tried making off with me. I don't like talking about it, but for a fellow Jinchuriki, I don't mind sharing a bit of my story. My name is Fu, by the way. Yugito reminds them. Yeah guys, you haven't introduced yourself to our new friend. B introduces himself. Killer B is in the house, Lil, Sand Buddy. Gaara found his way of speaking to be irritating. Han also introduces himself. My name is Han. Pleasure to meet you, Gaara. Gaara nods at him. Fu asks Yugito. Hey Yugito, the Leaf Village is the only village left, right? Yugito responds. Yes. Naruto Uzumaki is the last one. She looks at Han. Han, are you sure you can't remember where Rushi is? Han answers. I'm afraid not. My memory doesn't want to work with me right now. Oh, well alright. How about we call it a night, and make camp here? Fu agrees. Yeah, we've been walking all day today. I could really use some rest. After a few minutes, Yugito set up a campfire. Fu, Yugito, and B were taking out their sleeping items and Han took off the furnace on his back, along with his 2 bags, and set them beside him so he could sit down, and lays his back against a tree. Fu was looking through her cylinder. So, anybody got any stories to tell before we hit the hay? Han tells her. I thought you said you were tired. Yeah, but Fu doesn't mind listening to one story before she sleep. Yugito looks at Gaara, who was staring at the campfire, and she asks. Do you want a sleeping bag, Gaara? I have a spare. Gaara responds. I don't sleep. He walks into the forest to stay up for the night, but not too far away from the campsite. Fu looks at him walk away. Maybe he's an insomniac. Yugito says. I feel it's something else. What do you mean? Oh, just a funny feeling, that's all. And no, I don't have any stories to tell at the moment. B adds in. Me either, yo. Ah, okay. She looks at Han. What about you? Ha-eh. When she looks at him, Han was sitting against the tree, with his arms crossed, and already asleep, snoring lightly. Fu had a deadpan expression. Wow, that was quick. Yugito says. We better head to sleep as well. She lays inside her sleeping bag, and B does the same. Sleep tight, y'all. Fu covers herself in her sheet, and lays her head on her cylinder. Good night, guys. Yugito responds. Good night, Fu. With that the 3 Jinchuriki go to sleep for the night. With Gaara, he was in a fairly open spot, looking up at the moon lighting up the night, in deep thought. Was this the right choice? Going with people I don't even know. This choice makes me seem as if I'm desperate. Miss Yugito wasn't lying when she said she was a Jinchuriki like me, so she's currently the only one I can believe. Either way, I can always kill them if they plan anything against me. Betraying me will be the biggest mistake they'll ever make. With that, he proceeds walking through the forest for the night. The next day, the campfire had already been turned off, and Yugito starts to slowly wake up. She sees Fu sitting next to B, having a conversation. The two of them had already packed their things, so they decided to chat. Yugito starts to get up from her sleeping bag. You two are up early. Fu looks at her. Oh, we just got up. B and I were telling each other about ourselves. B says, check it out, Yugi girl. Lil, 7 here wants to rap too. Yeah, I will say, even though B's rapping is pretty bad, this makes B's smile turn into a frown, and his eyebrow to twitch behind his headband. Rapping sounds like a lot of fun. Yugito tries to hold her laughter at B's face when Fu said his rapping is bad. B tells Fu, you just lost a lot of ma respect, Minty. Why? 'Cause I said your rapping was bad. B taps Fu in her forehead. Ow. Hey. Yugito starts packing her back, and looks at them. Come on guys, be nice. HMPH, was what B responded with, and takes out his little rhyming book. I'm gone, make a rhyme insulting you, Minty. Fu looks at him in shock. Wah, oh you're so immature. The three of them notice Gaara arriving. Yugito looks at him. Gaara, you're back. Where were you? Gaara responds. I said I don't sleep, so I wandered the forest for the night. Fu asks him, why don't you sleep? Don't you get tired? I'll explain sometime in the future. Right now I don't feel comfortable explaining it with people I just met. Yugito stands up, and picks up her backpack. Fair enough. Let's get moving. We'll stop at a village for some breakfast, then we'll continue our trip. Fu and B stand up as well. Fu dusts herself off. Alright then. She heads towards her cylinder back, and looks at Han, who was still sleeping. Who's gonna wake up the giant? Yugito answers that question. I'll do it. She walks up to Han, kneels down on one knee, and shakes his shoulder. Han, wake up. Han just tumbles over, and hits the ground with his arms still crossed, and still sleeping. Yugito widens her eyes at his sudden collapse. OEMMM. B answers to that. Big ol' red must be a heavy sleeper. Fu grabs a pebble. I got this. She then aims the pebble at Han, and throws it at him, hitting him right in the bridge of his nose. Han wakes up. Fu strikes a victory pose. Bullseye. He sits up, and rubs the bridge of his nose. Alright, who did it? Fu did. Somebody had to wake you up. Han growls at her, but then stands up, grabs his furnace. That really stung, you know. He puts it on his back, and then grabs his 2 bags. Oh, you're a big man. You can take a pebble to the face. Gaara interrupts them. If you two are done with your needless talk, we should get moving. Yugito agrees. He's right. Leaf Village is a day away, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go. B also agrees. You got it. They begin walking, and Fu says unamused. Great. Fu's little feet are gonna get sore by the time we get there. Han teases Fu. Oh, you're a big girl. You can walk for a few hours. Fu crosses her arms. HMPH. They continue walking for the rest of their journey. They spent half of their time quiet, and the other half, they had small conversations. Fu started humming random songs to kill the silence. They eventually found a small village to make a stop, and have some breakfast. Yugito had purchased food for Fu and herself, and B for Gaara, and didn't make the same mistake of buying expensive food for Fu, and Gaara didn't ask for much, so B was lucky not to spend too much of his money. Han had his own money to buy his own food. They had their breakfast quickly, and left the village once they were done. They traveled for 5 more hours until they stopped at another village to grab lunch. They also finished their lunch quickly, and continued their journey. They took a total of 4 breaks during their trip. 2 to grab food, and 2 to rest their feet. Night had fallen, and they set up camp for the night, and continued next morning. They traveled for 2 more hours. Han tells them, I see a huge stone wall up ahead. It must be the Leaf Village. Fu suddenly jumped behind Han, puts her hands on his shoulders, and puts her head next to Han's, to get a good view. He didn't seem to mind. Fu smiles. He's right. I can see the village just up ahead. Yugito is relieved to hear that. Good. Naruto Uzumaki will be the last one, then we can head to the Cloud Village. Fu asks Han, Mind if I hang on to you for the rest of the walk? Han responds. I already gave you a lift yesterday, and the day before. Besides, we're almost there, you can walk the rest. Fine. She gets off Han, and continues walking. I hope they don't think we're a weird bunch. I mean, look at us. Yugito agrees. I would have to hope the same thing. B raps. They gone. Let us in, we just gotta keep it cool. He points at the others. So none of you better make us look like fools. Han looks at Yugito. Yugito, how can you tolerate this guy's awful rapping? This makes B's mouth twitch, and Yugito says. Oh, it's not that bad. And besides, I got used to it. Was all that B said. Gaara only stayed quiet, and listened to their conversation, that is until Fu talks to him. I heard that this Naruto is around the same age as the two of us. If that's the case, it'll be great that we'll get to meet another Jinchuriki that's our age. We'll be able to relate to him, and him to us. Gaara responds. I'm not going to get my hopes up. Despite saying that, Gaara was secretly interested in meeting Naruto, knowing that he was close to his age. It only took them 15 minutes to get to the entrance of the Leaf Village. Two Leaf Shinobi Chunin, who we know as Kotetsu and Izumo, were sitting on a desk in front of the village gate on guard duty, nearly bored to death. That is, until they saw the strange group coming their way. Kotetsu tells Izumo, Hey Izumo, check it out. Izumo looks, and is nearly surprised to see the group approaching the gates. Well, this is an unusual group. Be on guard. They look suspicious. Wait a minute, is that Yugito ni with them? Kotetsu takes a good look. Yes it is. What could bring her over? The group walks up to the two Chunin, and Yugito greets them. Greetings. You two folks look bored out of your minds. Kotetsu responds. You have no idea, Miss Ni. But it's good to see you again. Now, ids please. All five of them take out their identifications, and the two Chunin look over them. They were suspicious about their sudden appearance to the leaf. Izumo looks at the group. Your friends are the weirdest group I've seen all day. Han says. We'll take that as a compliment. They hand the group their ids back, and Izumo asks. So Miss Ni, what brings you and your friends over to the Leaf Village? B says instead. We're here to see Naruto, homie. Izumo wonders. Naruto. Kotetsu says. He'd be the last person in this village any outsider would want to see. Yugito tells them. Well, we're not going to see him directly. We're going to talk to your Hokage about him. We have our reasons, now we'll get going. I'll see you two later. With that, the group follows Yugito to the Hokage building, as the two Chunin watch them leave. Kotetsu wonders. Talk to the Hokage about Naruto. What does she mean by that? Izumo says. Well, it's not our business. So let's stay out of it. Yugito and the others proceed walking through the village, and Fu marvels at the village, noticing how alive and colorful it was. Wow, I would love to live here. It's a very pretty village with lots of smiling faces. Not to mention, the village is surrounded by lots of trees, and I've heard about the Aburame clan and their love for bugs. Let's stay here for a while. Yugito says. Well, I was planning on having a stop here until tomorrow. Heading to the Cloud Village is a one-day trip, and we do need a few supplies, so yes, let's stay here for a while. Fu gets excited. Yay. But first, we're going to see the Hokage. Yeah, I'm aware. Han looks at Fu. You know, you've been pretty happy for someone who spent most of her time alone and sad. Fu shrugs. Meh. Even I wonder why that is. B says. Minty ain't the only one. He points at himself with both of his thumbs. This dude right here always kept smilin', even after them glares people gave me. Han looks at B. Oh, I can believe that. You don't look like a person who would get angry or sad so easily. Fu tells him. Unless you say how bad his rapping is. B grows a noticeable vein on the side of his right eye. Watch it, Minty. Or it's gone. Get shitty. Yugito only smiles at their conversation, and they proceed walking to the Hokage Tower. It took them 4 minutes to arrive, but when they enter the tower, other Leaf Ninja look at the Jinchuriki group strangely. It's not every day they see such a colorful group of ninjas. Yugito took note of their staring. Yugito guides the other containers to the Hokage office. She already knew where it was when she arrived to the village on her missions a few weeks ago. It's not her first time in the Leaf Village though. She's been there a few times before with either her Cloud teammates, or with B. They arrive, and Yugito knocks on the door to the office, and they hear a, "Come in," from the other side. Yugito enters, followed by the others. Han decides to stay outside again. Yugito speaks. "Lord Hokage. It's good to see you again." Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage of the Leaf Village, was working on paperwork, and looks up to see who walked in his office. B speaks. "Yo. Good to see ya, old man." Hiruzen speaks. "Yugito ni. B. What a surprise. I didn't expect you both to visit." He looks at the other members in the group, and notices Gaara was in with them. Sarutobi is surprised by the young boy being in his office. Gaara of the Sand, what is he doing here? Gaara glares at the Hokage, and Yugito tells Hiruzen. "It's okay, Lord Third. He's with us, and we're here to ask you of a request." Hiruzen calms down, and leans his back against his chair. He looks at Fu. "And you, young lady?" Fu introduces herself. "Oh, I'm Fu. Nice to meet you, Lord Hokage." "Very well." He looks back at Yugito. "What will your request be?" Yugito continues. "It's about Naruto Uzumaki." "What about the boy?" "Well, I actually don't think this request will even be considered, but we would like to request if we could recruit him." "Recruit him? What do you want with him?" "Well, like I said, I don't think this request will be considered, seeing as the boy doesn't know of his status, but..." Hiruzen cuts her off. He already knows. Yugito asks. Pardon. Naruto knows of his status. It was revealed to him last night by a man known as Mizuki. "Oh, I see. Now, why do you wish to recruit him?" "Lord Hiruzen, you must probably know of the lonely life the boy lived because of his status. And as Jinchuriki like him, would like to show him that there are people just like him, who have been alone, and have suffered for the same reason." Wait. The Hokage realizes. Yugito, B. Gaara, I'm well aware of your status. He looks at Fu again. "But you too as well, Fu." Fu smiles, and answers. "That's right. I was the Jinchuriki of the Waterfall Village." Yugito adds in. "And there's another Jinchuriki waiting outside the office. Han from the Stone Village." Hiruzen's eyes somewhat widen. "What are 5 Jinchuriki doing here in the Leaf Village?" He looks at Yugito. "Yugito, what are you planning?" "Lord Hokage, I want to show my fellow Jinchuriki that they can have a positive life. I want to show them that they can gain the loyalty me and be worked so hard for, especially the younger and less experienced ones, like Naruto, and the 2 young ones behind me." Referring to Fu and Gaara. "That's what the 5 of us are here for." The aged Hokage said. "You have a kind heart, Yugito, and I admire that you want what's best for Naruto, and the rest of the Jinchuriki. I am completely aware of what Naruto has been through, and I did everything in my power to try and make things better for him. However, letting Naruto go is not up to me, it's up to the council. They control what happens to Naruto more than I do." Yugito thought. "I figured as much." Hiruzen continues. "However, I can arrange a meeting discussing Naruto. And if I do, I would like you to participate in it, Yugito." Yugito agrees. "Very well. When will it be possible for the meeting to be arranged?" "I will make plans of arranging it tonight at 8. I suggest you stay in the village a little longer. We were planning on staying until tomorrow morning, if that's fine with you." "That's perfectly fine. Until then, Yugito, I would like you to arrive here at my office at 7 at night, and I will let you know if the meeting will take place." Yugito responds. "Very well. Thank you for your time, Lord Third. I will be here by that time." Gaara then speaks. "I have something to say." Everyone in the room looks at him. It would be a lot fairer if all 5 of us attended the meeting. Miss Yugito can't debate with the council alone, and having the 4 of us with her will give the council more reason to grant Miss Yugito's request. Yugito was surprised of his words. Gaara. Fu speaks. You know, I would have to agree with him. Yugito, you need all the help you can get, and we'd be willing to help you bring Naruto with us. B agrees. Count me in too. Yugito lightly smiles, and looks back at the Hokage. Well, Lord Hiruzen. Hiruzen says. He does make a valid point. Very well, I shall allow all 5 of you to attend the meeting. Yugito keeps her smile on. Thank you, Lord Hokage. But be aware, you will be going up against the clan leaders of the Leaf Village, and civilian council members. Use the right words, and make your statements or reasons as accurate and reasonable as you can. You don't want to make this a waste of time for the council, so all 4 of you, and the man waiting outside, be well prepared for tonight. We will, Lord Hokage. At 7 at night we'll be here. Hiruzen agrees. Very well. You are dismissed. With that, the 4 containers exit the office, and Yugito closes the door. They begin walking, and Yugito looks at Han. You heard all of it, yes? Han responds. I did. I'll happily go to the meeting with the 5 of you. Good. She then looks at B. Now B, I know your brother told you this already, but I'm going to keep reminding you. Please don't use any sort of rapping, or slang talk. For them to be convinced of our reasons, we have to sound. B cuts her off. I already know, Yugi sis. I ain't 12 anymore, ya know. Alright then, I just felt like I needed to remind you one more time. Fu says. In the meanwhile, we can take a look around the village, and relax for a bit. Han tells them. It would probably be a good idea to meet this Naruto boy. If we do succeed in bringing him with us, then he should know who he's going to be leaving with. Yugito puts her hand on her forehead. Aw damn it, I forgot to ask the Hokage where we can find Naruto. Fu says. Then go back to ask him. No, we've already used enough of his time. I don't want to go back to his office just to ask him where Naruto is. Fine, then. We'll find him eventually. But for now, let's rent a hotel for us to crash in. They proceed walking through the halls of the Hokage Tower, until they exit. Once they were outside in the village, the Leaf Ninjas and villagers take a look at the Jinchuriki group again. This time, all 5 in the group notice everyone was looking. Yugito and B look back at the Leaf people. Fu gets nervous that the staring might turn into glares, and Gaara and Han didn't seem to care. The staring continued until they reach a hotel, and quickly rented 2 rooms. One for Yugito and Fu, and another one for Gaara, B, and Han. With the kunoichi, the 2 of them put their bags on the beds. Fu says, man, that was terrible. I know the 5 of us look like a weird group, but did everybody need to stare at us? I felt uncomfortable, and I was scared they were going to glare at us. Yugito says, you're new to the village, so they don't know about your status. There's no need to worry about glares. I know. It's just that at the waterfall village, when people stared at me, their stares turned into glares, and it's just something I'm used to, is all. Fu's stomach grumbles, and she holds her belly. Man, I just realized. We haven't eaten anything all day. Let's go get the guys, and stop at a restaurant. I'm pretty hungry myself. Let's leave our stuff here. It won't be necessary to take them if we're coming back. Okay. The 2 kunoichi exit the room, and ask the guys to come with them. All 5 of them exit the hotel building, and start walking on the streets of the Leaf Village. Yugito asks them, so, what would you guys like to eat? Han says, anywhere is fine with me. Fu says, I'd like some fruits. B says, I wanna eat some bacons. Yugito asks, what about you, Gaara? Gaara responds, I don't care where. Well, alright. She notices a familiar food stand near them. Oh, how about there? Fu looks at the stand. Ichiraku Ramen Shop. Yes. Naruto told me how much he loves the ramen in that stand, and told me he goes there almost every day. Maybe the owners can tell us where he likes to be in, or where he lives. I didn't ask Naruto where he lives the first time I talked to him. Han says. Sounds like a good idea. Fu says. Sure. Let's eat there. B says. Whatever. The group walks up to the ramen stand, and Yugito was about to enter, but someone exiting the stand bumps into her. The person says. Oh, sorry about that. Yugito responds. It's alright. She then notices who it was, and smiles. Naruto. It was indeed the spiky blonde-haired, whisker-bearing, jumpsuit-wearing boy we know, Naruto Uzumaki. He looks up at her, and smiles as well. Yugito. He hugs her, and does his trademark foxy grin. It's good to see you again. The others look at the boy, and he releases Yugito. She says. It's good to see you too. We were wondering where you were. We have lots to talk about. Why don't we go inside and talk? I'd like to introduce you to my friends. Naruto looks at the others in the group, and B speaks. Yo, Naruto. Good to see ya lil, buddy. Fu asks. So you're Naruto, huh? Naruto responds. Yeah but, who are they, Yugito? Yugito says. Let's go inside and talk. Okay. The six of them walk inside Ichiraku's. As they do, Naruto says. Hey old man, we got visitors. The owner of the stand, Tuki, was working on preparing noodles, and turns around. Yes, I heard company from. Before he could finish his sentence, he was caught off guard by the people who just stepped into his stand. Whoa, it's good to see you again, Miss Ni, but it's not every day I see customers like these. Yugito says. We've been getting that all day. Please, have a seat. Make yourselves comfortable. I'll be right there with you. All of them sit down on the chairs. There were 6 chairs in total, so they were lucky to have 1 seat per person. Gaara sits at the very end to the right, followed by B, Yugito, Naruto, Fu, and Han. Fu sniffs. What is that delicious smell? Naruto looks at Fu, and smiles. It's the heavenly smell of Ichiraku ramen. Yugito says. You folks have to trust me and Naruto when we say that these will be the best noodles you'll ever eat. Fu smiles. I can hardly wait to try it. Naruto says. Yeah, I just ate, but I could eat 10 more bowls of noodles if one could. I don't have much money, though. Yugito says. I'll buy you a bowl of ramen, Naruto. But only one. Naruto looks at Yugito. You'd do that. Thanks, Yugito. You're awesome. Yugito happily smiles. Oh, it's nothing. After a few minutes, the 6 of them receive their bowls ramen, and begin eating. Fu eats the noodles with delight. Man, this ramen is delicious. Yugito happily says. I knew you like it. Naruto looks at Yugito. So Yugito, what did you want to talk about? Yugito answers. Well, for starters, I wanted you to meet my friends. B introduces himself. Killer B, in the flesh yo. Followed by Fu. I'm Fu. Nice to meet you, Naruto. Then Han. You can call me Han. Naruto says. Good to meet you all. He then looks at Gaara, who was quiet. What about you? Gaara simply says. Gaara. Naruto says. Okay. He looks at Yugito. Why did you want to introduce them to me? Yugito answers. It's a little bit of a long story. She explains as the others eat. You see Naruto, me and B started a mission to look for special people. Those people have gone through a lonely, miserable, or betrayed life. My goal is to reunite those people, to show them that there are others like them who share the same past, for the same reason. All 6 of us, we've gone through that. Sounds cool. Is there anybody here in the leaf you want to find? Yes. He's right next to me. Naruto looks at who was next to Yugito. Who? Killer B. He doesn't seem to be from here. B says. No, it's you, fool. Ya fool. Naruto looks at her, and back at Yugito, in confusion. Me. Why me? Yugito explains. Well, Naruto, let me ask you something. How was your childhood like? Naruto thinks about it for a few seconds, then speaks. It was lonely. I'm an orphan, and I don't know what happened to my parents. Everybody looked at me bad, too, as if I was some sort of. He stops. Yugito says. The Hokage told us that last night, you found out something very big about you. Oh, he looks down at his bowl. Yeah, he then comes to a realization. Wait, you said you've all been through the same thing, for the same reason. Does that mean you all have a? Yes, Naruto. All 5 of us sitting here with you, were like you. This causes Naruto to widen his eyes, and it even catches Tsuki by surprise. Naruto stutters. You all have a. Yugito finishes his sentence. A demon inside of us? Yes. That's correct. Tsuki was more surprised than Naruto. Having 6 demon containers in his ramen stand. It's insane. In his head, he imagines all 6 of them as silhouettes with glowing red eyes that turn into ferocious beasts and blow up his ramen stand, only to find himself back in the real world, looking at the group having their conversation. Tsuki says in his thoughts. I thought one of them would be fine, but 6. I don't know what will happen when the whole village finds out there's 6 of the demon containers in here. Naruto, on the other hand, was speechless. Seeing 5 more people that are like him, it causes him to give out a bright smile in front of his fellow Jinchuriki. He yells, Yugito, and immediately hugs her again. If I get to be with a bunch of cool-looking people who are just like me, I'd love to go with you wherever you're taking me. Yugito hugs him in return, and he lets go of her. It's so awesome. Finally, people that can understand me. That know how I feel. That can relate to me. And can maybe even respect me and start treating me like I'm somebody. Somebody important. He looks at Yugito. Yugito, I'm going with you guys. It's a chance I can't miss. Gaara says in his thoughts. What an annoying kid. Yugito stops Naruto. Now hold on, Naruto, we would love for you to go with us as much as you do, but we need to speak to the council of the Leaf Village first. They'll decide whether you can go with us or not. Thankfully, we'll be speaking to the council tonight. Naruto gets a bit frustrated. Man, why can't I just get up and go without their permission? Han says. Because you're property of the Leaf Village. They can't just let a container like you go. Fu jokingly says. Unless you live in my old village. They didn't care at all when I left. Naruto crosses his arms. Well, I wish it was like that for me. Yugito tells him. Don't worry, Naruto. We'll be seeing the council tonight, and when we do, we'll come up with the best and most accurate reason as to why you should come with us. She smiles. Just you wait. Naruto smiles back at her. Thanks, Yugito.